Welcome into the crypto bunker. Tonight, I want to talk to you guys about what we're seeing in the charts right now. Basically, what I want to say is that I'm not your financial advisor. So just consider this to be a just looking at the charts, not really any advice that I want to be giving in this particular episode. I just want to try to have an open mind about what's happening and try to figure out possibly what happens next. I mean, basically, this is just for fun. It really has nothing to do with what could happen because there's a lot of different opinions out there right now of what's going on. A lot of people think that we're going to go higher. I personally don't see that. I see a lot of infighting, as you guys have seen with Suzu recently saying that he's short Ethereum and he's long AVAX and long Decentraland, I think he said. And to be honest, like he was one of the guys who first got me into Ethereum. And I started looking back at some of his videos like 6 months ago, and I noticed that all of what he has predicted and said was so great about Ethereum is still playing out. So it's very strange to me that he is turning on the community like this. And, I've been tweeting a lot about it because, it's sad basically. Like he was one of the people that I looked up to, and one of the people that sort of steered me toward Ethereum more than Bitcoin. And it's a weird time because I think last 6 months ago when he was going around doing interviews talking about the bull case for Ethereum and getting everyone bullish on Ethereum was actually the top of Ethereum. So what I noticed is that a lot of the interviews he was doing was around like May 11th. You can go back and watch the Bankless podcast with him and Kyle Davies from Three Arrows Capital. You can go back and watch the podcast with him and Hasu and Kobe. You can also watch the Up Only episode with him on there as well. And all of those, he was super bullish on Ethereum. And that was kind of leading up to the top. And so it's just a strange time right now to see him shorting Ethereum and possibly dumping all of his Ethereum. So we just want to be aware of that. We also want to see what's going on in the charts. And so let's take a look at that. What I'm seeing right now is, and I'm not an expert, but I do follow the Crypto Sniper. And what I believe this could be is a complex head and shoulders. We can see this possibly being a shoulder here, and this possibly being a shoulder, and this a larger head structure, sort of similar to what we saw in Bitcoin before we had a big crash in May. And what I'm also noticing is this wedge that's forming, this ascending shoulder wedge here, that we've really respected right now up until, currently. We're still respecting this. And so I just wanted people to be aware, basically just trying to bring awareness to you guys. And so what I'm seeing here is a possibility to break lower off this wedge. And we obviously see that this is the line that we want to break here. And so this would take us, if this wedge took us all the way up to this line and then we broke, that would sort of be the perfect storm for a major correction. But at the same time, I think the most important thing is that if you're a beginner, if you're someone that's just starting to get into Ethereum, there's no reason to be fearful of the asset that you hold. The asset that you hold is fundamentally strong, and it's something that I do want to cover coming up. This is just kind of an interest of mine to look at the charts, but we obviously have Ethereum will be, that's going to be a deflationary asset soon. We have hundreds of applications, thousands of developers building on top of Ethereum. We have Ethereum being used as money in auctions at Sotheby's. We just have crazy things happening. But to be honest, right now it just feels a little heavy on the charts. And so that's kind of why I wanted to cover this for you guys. Let's take a look at also the daily, and let's take a look at some of these moving averages, and we'll take a look at the past to show us what's going to happen in the future. We can see this exponential moving average, and then we have the ribbon. And every time this blue has crossed over this yellow, we see we've had a major correction, sort of a double correction even. And so we can even look back as far as what I believe to be the last bull market. And we can see that we had the blue line above the yellow line pretty much this entire time. We had a cross right here, and here, and then we took a correction down. So there's just, and then I'll show you guys the basically this as well. We had the blue above the yellow here, and then we crossed here. We had a correction. We had the blue above the yellow this whole time that we've been going up, and we just had the cross here. And now we are kind of testing the bottom of this blue. And what I personally expect is for us to be rejected. And every time that has happened, we have gone either to the orange exponential ribbon, or the ribbon, or the red. So that could either take us to around 3,700, or maybe 3,100 at the very bottom of that ribbon. So this is just a couple of things I've noticed. I also noticed something a little bit strange in the chart, and I just basically what I noticed is we've had a great run, and I think we're sort of being a little bit greedy, I think, to think, we've gone up 1,000% in a year. And so we're being a little bit greedy to think that we're just going to keep going here, just because, and look at this, right? We're testing the top of this, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to test lower, because this is just a wick here that we're testing. So it's still not as strong as maybe people would think it would be. I think we're stronger down near 3,900, and even stronger down in the 3,150 sort of range, in that range. So that's sort of where I would expect us to go. And I don't think we're going to have extended bear markets like we've had in the past. I personally think that if we did come down to 3,000, that would probably be the bottom. And obviously I've drawn this chart. I've drawn this line. Excuse me there, but I've drawn this line in the past here, and this would take us anywhere from probably around 3,500. So what kind of right in between these two ribbons. But let's just think about how this is pretty parabolic, and I was looking back and I was how does this compare to what this looked like? And honestly, it's pretty similar. And it's kind of weird, if you think about kind of what happened, right? We went up, 1,000%. But this time, this time is a little different. But what I think is weirdly similar is sort of this move here. As we can see, basically this move here, and then we had a little squeeze here, and then a rollover. And this move here, actually in this run, ended up being way up here, but it still rolled over like this, right? It wasn't parabolic, sort of and then we just kind of eased our way up and rolled over. That's sort of what I'm seeing here. As we can see, parabolic, and then a rollover. And so, it doesn't feel right now in the markets. There's, like I said, there's just a lot of infighting. If we can look on the weekly chart here, and to where this might come down to, this kind of gets us down to around 3,500 as well. And I think like I've said before, last resort, would be sort of around 2,700, 2,600. something like that. So yeah, I just wanted to go over a few of these things with you guys. For me, it just doesn't look great. So I'm just going to sit in a little bit of stable coins personally, but I've accumulated enough over time to be able to make those moves. If you're someone who's still a beginner, it just depends like how much money you've put into it. Can you afford to take a 50% cut on that money? And because the thing is, it could still go way up, right? Like we have Rob Powell saying this correction looks exactly like the correction in Bitcoin in 2017. So let's take a look at that. I mean, there's still people who, the thing is, like, I think everyone's bullish. So I just want to be like a contrarian a little bit with it, just to show you guys that there is like another story. But what Raul is saying is that we are actually right here, and it's actually like almost scarily the same time frame. But that doesn't mean that it's going to continue to follow this. But this correction, he's basically saying that ETH is about to do this entire run here to 20K. Or, for me, I think it'd be around 15K. So, it's kind of a balance, right? But at the same time, like if you have, a bunch of ETH and you don't have any stable coins, you're probably going to want to be in some stables, just in case something happens, so you can live with it. If we do get like a 50% cut, you can buy the dip, things like that like personally I've never really done. So I think this time I'm just going to try to be a little bit cautious. We do have Bitcoin on the weekly possibly closing below 60K, which we never really wanted to see here, right? And we used it as support. We closed above it all 4 of these weeks, and then we come all the way down, and we might actually close below it here. I think the bulls there's a possibility they come in and save us here like they have in previous weeks, but it just looks a little bit heavy to me. And so, like what I'm seeing is there's a possibility, right, that we get a little bit more of a squeeze on this shoulder here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see us come up to around this region with some of these lines, and get a good squeeze going like that. This squeeze has been pretty weak though. It was, the ETH squeeze has been a little bit stronger. And so, that's something that to be aware of as well. And this would sort of match up with this trend line, I guess. So maybe it wouldn't come, quite that far, but it might come to that area, and then maybe we sell off. This isn't necessarily the same chart formation as Ethereum. It's a little bit more complex to try to figure this out. But what we could look at is this trend line to see possibly where we could come down to, maybe around 49K. The Crypto Sniper has a key level at like 47.5 that I think no one else really has. So I think maybe look out for that as well. But again, none of this is financial advice, and there will be a lot of moves in the market, right? It's going to be volatile. So you could see another huge run up real quick and then a huge dump, just to get liquidity. I think it's possible that we already did that here, but we could always have a little bit more of a run up to around 4,500, and then come down here for this first move, maybe to 3,500. Like I tried to show you guys before, every other single time that we've had a big run, where the blue crossed over the yellow here, we have had a correction, and that is what we just had. We had a correction, and usually, it kind of continues down. So the next level for this would be around, 3,700, worst case around 3K. And I think that would be fine. That's a totally healthy correction in my opinion. Anything lower than 3K gets a little dicey. I think 2,700, these lows, we need to respect those lows. We can't really put in a lower low, right? So we've put in all these lower, these higher lows. So we had this, we have this, we have this, right? Like we're coming through this all the way up and we're making higher lows in all these corrections. So I would expect another higher low, maybe around 3,100, best case scenario, 35, 3,600. So just wanted to give you guys that. Obviously, not financial advice. If you're just a beginner, please just hodl. Don't worry about any of this stuff. This is just for fun. And if you want more education on, what Ethereum is, what Ethereum is doing for the world, being, basically the first credibly neutral smart contract platform that, in my opinion, governments have already been starting to use to issue bonds and to do things like that. So, there's different things that are happening that don't really relate to the price and to the chart. So please focus on those things if you're a beginner, and please comment below if you would like more videos on Ethereum education. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't, and have a great night.